Добрий день, вітаю всіх, хто приєднався.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Ola Atmanova, and it's my pleasure to welcome you at Ukrainian Media Center Today is day 1000 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor. It's been 11 years of the war, and I would like to start our event with appreciation of the efforts of our security and defense forces, all of our defenders, thanks to whom we keep holding on these 1000 days, incredibly difficult days. And we've started this day at 9 o'clock. We're having a specialized training on tactical medicine called Stop the Bleeding, Save a Limb, with the participation of Ukrainian athletes, actors, ambassadors, singers. So now we will be talking in more detail about what has been going on in our studio. So let me introduce our guests. Joining us in the studio are Yaroslava Mahuchikh, Ukrainian athlete, Olympic champion, and world record holder. And it's my pleasure to welcome Serhiy Soshynskyi, president of the International Charitable Foundation Health of the Ukrainian People, and Leonid Fedorovskyi, chairman of the board of the Association of First Aid and Technical Medicine Operators and Instructors. Thank you very much, first of all, for joining us in this studio. Thank you for this wonderful initiative, incredibly important one. So, Leonid, please, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit more about what has been going on here. Why is this training about something new to us, about new approaches based on Ukrainian experience? What has changed? Well, good afternoon, dear guests, those who join us online and those who have been with us since the beginning of the training, its practical parts. So basically today we're presenting, well, you know, it's quite a benchmark, day 1000 of the big war. So today we're presenting the big innovative project on training the communities on Stop the Bleeding project. Our organization has called it Stop the Bleeding and Save a Limb. So we don't only want to teach people how to stop the bleeding, but while stopping the bleeding, the people should save lives without doing any harm, just in a way that it's necessary. We've been joined by a large number of potential carriers of this knowledge, the ambassadors, just like Ms. Yaroslava. But again, it all started with Mr. Serhiy Soshynskyi. That's why I would like to give the floor to him so he tells us about the idea of the project. Please, Serhiy. Well, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be the president of the health of the Ukrainian people, like the whole of its health. Well, saving the limbs within the last 2 years, we've been 2 years on the 15th of November, we've noticed that a lot of amputations are the result of the lack of knowledge, because our warriors are not so well trained. Well, they were not so well trained as they were civilians in their civilian lives, and it pushed us to initiation of a number of trainings. We underwent a number of trainings ourselves, and unfortunately we haven't seen any systemic work. Every training that we were taking part in was either too long or was looking like a show, but it was not given the necessary knowledge about how to stop the bleeding and save the limbs. Then in my conversations with combat medics, we've found out that to stop the intense bleeding is something that can save lives. And then we met Leonid, the chairman of the association of those who want to bring order to all this area. And in order to bring order there, we started our cooperation. This is how Stop the Bleeding and Save a Limb course was born. Just like Leonid has said, the goal of it is not only to stop the bleeding and to save life, but also to think about the consequences, saving the limbs. And we've contacted Ms. Yaroslava, who kindly agreed to become the ambassador. And we're sure the input of Yaroslava will help draw more attention to this important story. And the story is as follows. If you know how to save life, how to stop the bleeding, how to save a limb from loss of function or amputation, you're going to be able to do a lot for the Ukrainian people, to do a lot for yourself and your loved ones. That's why we're happy to have this huge number of people joining us today. And Yaroslava personally saved one of my limbs today during the training, and I want to thank you for that, Miss Yaroslava, and the floor is yours. So, Miss Yaroslava, how was the training? What have you found out? What were the new skills that you have acquired? Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you, a part of this training. To me, it was the first open practical course of first medical aid, and I think that every Ukrainian today is supposed to undergo one of these trainings to get more knowledge, and those who already have the knowledge should still come and practice, because every day comes with the new technologies, new skills, new knowledge. And today I had an opportunity to try to stop the bleeding. First time in my life I was holding a tourniquet in my hand, and I've realized that every Ukrainian needs to have this knowledge how to save other ones, because the first time when I've met Serhiy, it was a discovery for me that the most cases when people get amputations are a result of a lack of knowledge in the area of first medical aid. Thank you very much for taking part in this project, and I would like to ask more, Mr. Serhiy, Mr. Leonid. You're talking about new approaches, their importance. To what extent are you finding the support on part of the state? Because we understand how important this process is for implementation of some sustainable changes, but basically we need to come up to the level of the state for this. So are you sensing any support of the government so far? Well, let's talk maybe unison. Well, let me start first, and then Leonid will continue. We started our negotiations with the government in order to get them engaged for such a mass training. And we've seen a number of the countries who have such experience, and hopefully in cooperation with the government, it will allow us to fulfill some useful work, useful for every Ukrainian. We have plans that Leonid is about to tell you about. We've counted a number of times. We've calculated whether we will be able to achieve it, and we've decided that yes, we were going to be able to achieve our goals. Well, our association, just like other colleagues of ours, for a number of years, maybe at least 10 years of the war, we had a lot of people involved in development of standards, manufacturing of tourniquets. The colleagues from Ukraine Media Center were discussing it with us a lot of times. We initiated the dialogue with the government, and we've come up with the conclusion that saving lives is our own business, the business of the citizens. We've studied the experience of different countries, and we've realized that the best way to do it is to establish the training in a decentralized way, not like to have these ongoing trainings in a mandatory way, but better to provide the people with an opportunity to study in a comfortable format. And we've built like approximate mathematical chart. We want to train 1 million of operators. It's gonna take a couple of years, but the first horizon is 100,000 trained individuals. The mathematics is simple. 100,000 of those trained ones, if they potentially save another 10 people, it makes that same million. So our task is to have them trained as soon as possible, and then to make it in a way that the whole country knows how to provide the first medical aid to themselves and others around them. That's quite an ambitious goal. Yes, and another goal of ours is the lobbying of the law on pre-medical aid, Good Samaritan law, in order to decrease the responsibility of people providing first medical aid. I think government should be interested about it, because every saved life, every saved limb is the growth of the welfare of our country. Well, you're having an ambitious goal, 100,000, then 1 million. That's quite an effort, in my opinion. To what extent are you ready to initiate those trainings now, because a lot of people will start hearing about what has been going in our studio today. So what should be done to start the ball rolling? Well, right now we are finalizing the online model of this course. So in the websites of our organizations, you will be able to find the link to theoretical course, online training, and after that you will be invited to the practical part of the course, and the best students will be able to become instructors. So basically, we are about to finalize that preparation process. Well, let me uncover it a little bit. In December, we are about to launch the full-scale release of our program. So December this year, without the exact date, but we are going to announce different modules of this course, both theoretical, practical, train the trainer course, a course on provision of equipment. So everything is being finalized right now. I would also like to ask you about international experience. To what extent are Ukrainian experience is of curiosity to our international partners? Are they supporting your project? And to what extent are we ready to share our experience? Well, let me start this time. The association has been cooperating with a number of international institutions for many years. We have a cool project of the Department of Defense of the United States. It's called Stop the Bleed. It's an official, serious project which has a lot of institutionalized representations in a number of countries. We are also representing that project in Ukraine, but the Ukrainian realities, just like we described during the training, do not quite fit with what is going on in the United States, doesn't quite fit with their training needs. And we, in cooperation with the partners from United States and Europe, have developed a new course, a little bit modified, and we launched it with a different brand name. So our Stop the Bleed course is not only American Stop the Bleed, but it has the American Foundation, added by the European Foundation and multiplied by Ukrainian experience. I think Serhiy may add more. Well, it's not a secret that there is a lot of problems in Ukraine related to the war, and one of the biggest problems in the battlefield is a lot of injured individuals at the same time, and the difficulties with evacuation. Well, even in civilian life, the evacuation still leaves much to be desired. Sometimes our ambulances don't make it to the big sites of catastrophes. They don't always cope with those challenges they're facing. That's why we've decided to complement this training course, Stop the Bleed, with the necessity to save limbs, so every person understands that when they stop the bleeding, they should think about the consequences. They can read a number of statements that I was able to note during the training. It's no matter what, it's important how. It's important to critically evaluate the situation, look at the watch, then the gloves, the bandage, the package, and tourniquet. The more you work, the less stressed you are. And then the placement of tourniquet, of course. All those things and other things that we've agreed to cover, they all have to save multiple lives, multiple limbs. We've had a 9-year-old boy here in the studio who was providing comments during the training, and I'm confident that if we start training the kids, if kids are going to be aware how to provide the first medical aid from the young age, how to save the limbs, then our warriors are not going to have these much amputations. So what is the age when you should start? Well, quickly, just like that. It turned out that we have 3 different experts in 3 different areas seated here in front of you. So I think that from the early childhood you better start practicing sports. The earlier the better, but the more you train in reality, the less stressed you are. It applies both to the sports and to the first medical aid. So at the competition, after a lot of training, you don't get that much stressed, and you have to take it consciously. As a conscious individual, you have to continue practicing at home so that in a stressful situation you can get yourself together and do everything automatically. Yaroslav, what was the most difficult part of today's training today? You were placing bandages, you were placing tourniquets, so what was the most difficult part? Well, the most difficult was tamponing of the wounds for 5 minutes, but again, I started feeling my hands tired. But again, look, this is an athlete talking. So again, it's practice, practice, and even more practice. Dear friends, I would like to give you an opportunity to ask your questions or provide comments, any reflections of yours. A microphone, please. We have simultaneous interpretation in place here. I know that in Israel it's quite widespread, this program for saving lives, provision of first medical aid. Even in school, the school children studied, because that country keeps facing situations like that. Do you think it would be relevant to implement such an approach in Ukraine? Well, I can answer right away that obviously it would be relevant, because when I was studying in school, we had this medical aid training, but it was in the 10th and 11th grade when you get more prepared to the graduation exams. So in my opinion, we should implement this course starting from some middle school, when children start understanding the concept of first medical aid. And after all, we're living in a time when you don't know what's going to happen. Everybody should be prepared, including children. Well, I wouldn't like to overload you with information, but again, we have just a beautiful cooperation with the Israeli ambulance. We keep exchanging information with them online. I was in touch with one of their representatives just yesterday. They have a difficult medical situation, but again, we've come up with the conclusion that they have the same problems. However, their level of training is way higher, but they still have problems with low quality Chinese tourniquets. They have problem with lack of training, because the mobilized military are supposed to get some quality training. But again, the sooner we start the efficient training for the people, and the more frequently we have these trainings, the more efficient the trainings are, because it makes a lot of difference whether you train somebody from scratch, from zero, or otherwise when it's a person being mobilized to the armed forces, being already ready. So basically in the army you have to reduce the amount of training, and in our case it happens quite the other way around. So defense capacity of the state depends on us, if I may. Well, you've seen small kids, yeah, they're playing with dolls, and sometimes they play doctors. So it's a wonderful experience for those businessmen who want to support this idea to establish a children's first medical aid course, where from very young age children study how to place bandages on the dolls or place tourniquets on the doors. I think it would be perceived very good, because we implement this part of gamification in our course, and people are going to get additional bonuses, additional points. On top of that, Save a Limb program contemplates that those who have better skills and those who have better portfolio, they will be more funded by the Save a Limb program, and like we are all equal here, but if a person studies hard, they want to help themselves better or help those around them better. So when those people want to do more good, they get more good. So if people don't want to think critically, they don't take care of themselves, they don't take care of their self-development, they don't care about those around them, why should the society take care of them? We're talking about some new philosophy of good things, good deeds here, the philosophy of Ukrainian wisdom, which will be reflected in this course of the first medical aid, including Save a Limb course. Dear friends, if you have more questions on the floor, please let us know. Could you please tell us how many of your friends and colleagues have underwent this course? And after this course, how can you motivate your friends to do something like this? Well, not only your colleagues, but probably how to motivate all of the Ukrainians. Well, in reality, I would like to urge every single Ukrainian to undergo the first medical aid course. As Mr. Serhiy has said, the more conscious we are, we're living in a world where we are supposed to save the lives of others. We all know about those tragedies in Sumy, in Odessa recently. So having this knowledge, I would like to be the speaker, to be the motivator, so the people see me and they understand, yeah, we have to train, we have to study, because science is power. You have to study and you have to take responsibility of this. More questions. Mr. Leonid, I'm having a question to you. You've started the training with who's got the gloves? I always have them on me in my pocket. So what should everybody have in their backpack, in their car? Is it gloves, tourniquet, blood clotting, bandage? Well, I have a long answer. I will give you a short recommendation and then the long one. Well, first recommendation, EAMT website, everything that you need you may find there. Well, and another long recommendation is you're supposed to have that list of equipment that you know how to use. Well, without joking, everybody should have a medikit of a relevant level, something that corresponds to your level, to the conditions you may end up in. It doesn't mean we're all supposed to be bearing a tactical military medikits, but they don't fit the civilian conditions. In the same way, the military are not supposed to carry all of their home medicines in their medikits. Unfortunately, this is the situation that we come across in the front lines as well. Like, mommy told me to get those medicines with me. So relevant things and relevant activities at relevant time. Like, right action at the right time. This is our motto, our old motto. And another motto that we should use is don't do harm. Everything that we're talking about, all of our statements, and this is how we agreed it with Serhiy and Yaroslav. Our new motto for everybody is don't do harm, not only for the doctors who should use this motto. Well, he's taken away all my words. I just wanted to say it like don't do harm, but Leonid had a lot of people going through his hands, through his trainings, tens of thousands of people, and I'm confident that thanks to the work of the association that unites everybody, we will be able, in cooperation with Yaroslava and other opinion leaders, to convince Ukrainians, to motivate Ukrainians, first of all, to help themselves, their loved ones, and to know how to do it, and obviously without doing any harm, because we have to understand that if you don't know, you better don't touch it. Well, I would like in the end for you to focus everybody's attention where they can undergo these trainings, which website to go, what our people should do. So once again, we remind everybody how important this approach is. Well, again, the website, and there will be announcements in the social media so everybody finds out, but it's gonna happen just a little bit later in December. Yeah, a little bit later in December. Thank you very much for joining us. Serhiy, Yaroslava, Leonid. Thank you. I want to thank all of you, friends, for your interest, for coming and undergoing this training. Once again, I would like to urge all of our spectators, do it as well. It's gonna make you safer and make your loved ones safer. We're living under conditions of war, and every single one of us may end up in a situation when your help may be needed. So let's make it so that around us there are more people who can provide medical aid and save lives of those around you. Thank you very much. Come to the trainings, get trained, study, and we continue working together for our victory. And glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes.